Moodle page that the students access on the programme. So hopefully you should be able to see this. Okay, so this is the virtual learning environment that we have set up for the employer mentoring programme. So all of the students that are part of the programme have access to this virtual learning environment. This is in chronological order, so this is developed in the steps that the student would undertake the mentorship process. So we have information about the programme, some tips before they have their first meeting, their personal statement submission. So this is where they would submit their personal statement. And then once this is submitted, then we would then allocate them their mentor. Okay. There is also the mentoring log, which I had mentioned, which I'll show you an example of the mentoring log. So this is something that they will complete for each of their sessions with you as their mentor. So this really captures the discussion points from the sessions and also helps the student to reflect on how the meeting has went and what they have learned from the session. And you can ask for a copy of that as a mentor as well for your own records, if you like. After your meeting, this just gives the mentee some guidance for what to do after they've had their first session. Reflect on what they learned, what they will ask for the next session. Is there anything they maybe forgot to ask that they want to cover the next time with their mentor? Will they set an agenda of topics to cover for the next session? And then the other sections are really just about how they prepare for future meetings. And then we also have a news forum so that we send information out to the undergraduate students. So that could be, for example, careers talks that we run or industry mentorship sessions that the students maybe want to go along to support them throughout the programme, in addition to their one-to-one mentoring. Okay, so that's the mentoring programme. This is also, could you see the Careers and Skills website at the front here? Yeah. So this is also the Careers and Skills website that all students have access to. You can access this also as a PhD student as well. It's not only for undergraduate students, this is open to all PhD students and also staff at UWS as well. So you would just log in with your normal login details for your PC or your laptop, and you will be able to see some of the resources that the students can engage in to support them on the programme. So you'll be able to see that they can access information here about the career support, academic skill support, different resources around developing a graduate level CV, some interview questions, tips for completing applications. So we're not expecting you as a mentor to have had experience in doing CVs, carrying out interviews, because actually the student should be developing these things themselves. But certainly you can give them some advice and tips. You could set up a mock interview with your mentee where you can maybe ask some questions. You can ask them to do some research as though they were applying for a role. So you can certainly provide some feedback, and you could maybe give your mentee a task to go onto the Careers and Skills website, have a look at some of the resources, have a look at the CV templates. At the next session, we're going to have a look at what you've researched, and then I'll give you some pointers on that. So that could be a task in itself. If you're quite active on LinkedIn and maybe your mentee doesn't have a LinkedIn profile, again, that could be a task that you could give your mentee to do. And then you would review that at the next session. So I just wanted to show you the Careers and Skills website so that you're aware that there's lots of resources that the student can access through the mentoring programme, so that we're not expecting you to go and find templates, and so there's not all of this extra additional work that you have to do as a mentor. Ultimately, your role is really about guiding and supporting the mentee, as you had already mentioned. But certainly there might be some tools and resources that you use yourself or you have experienced using before within your own career development, or that you use within your workplace, particularly if you're involved within recruitment. You can certainly share that information as well. Okay, so I'll just come off the Careers and Skills website. Do you have any questions around that? Okay, I'll just move back to the slides. Okay, so this is the different mentor competencies that we expect mentors to have. We don't expect you to be able to demonstrate every single one of these, but certainly this is the guidance that we use for what we expect from mentors. So being able to build a positive relationship with your mentee, business professional savvy. So obviously you'll have an understanding of the business environment already, particularly if you've done your master, you'll have done your MBA. Some of you had mentioned you had done your MBA before moving on to your PhD. You'll have experience within the business sector, and your research is within a business environment. So that is what we're looking for from mentors. An interest in developing others, self-awareness, a commitment to your own development through the programme as a mentor is really important. Clarifying goals with your student, communication, and having a sense of humour as well. This is the model of mentoring that I had mentioned before, the David Clutterbuck model. We do have a mentor guidance pack, which you will have a copy of if you do decide to become a mentor on the programme. That has all of the information and all the guidance for you as a mentor. But there is 4 helping to learn styles that we expect mentors to use, and that is some elements of coaching, guiding, helping the student to build their own networks, and some counselling support. So that's about listening to the mentee, trying to encourage them, trying to help them come up with different solutions to maybe any issues that they're facing, but also bear in mind that you're not there to solve coursework problems as well. So your role as a mentor is also to utilise the wider support within the university. So for example, if the student is maybe thinking about dropping out of their studies, or they're maybe having issues with their coursework, then they have a personal tutor already within their undergraduate programme. So we're not expecting you to be dealing with those sorts of issues. You would just advise a student to speak to their personal tutor. You might give them some direction about how they could approach it with their personal tutor. Certainly you could do that, but there's no expectation that you would be solving coursework problems for the student. Also, just to make you aware of the wider student services support. So obviously there is the international support, there is the funding and advice, and there's also the counselling team within student services. So for example, if the student is maybe feeling quite stressed around their exams, or they're maybe not coping with some personal issues, then you might want to mention to them about the counselling support that's available within the university. You would not make a direct referral. It's up to the students to go and access that support themselves, but they will be made aware of that anyway as part of their induction to the university about all of the wider support. And you might, as a PhD student, you might actually access some of these services yourself. So it was just to reassure you that we don't expect you to solve any issues around coursework or personal problems. This is ultimately around their career development, and you just ensure that you do bring it back to the goals that the mentee wants to achieve through the programme. If you feel that the conversation's moving into more their personal life and personal issues, always try and bring it back to, okay, let's go back to the goals that you want to achieve through the mentoring programme. So this is the model that we use. So if you do want to do any further reading, that's the reference. It's the David Clutterbuck model. This is just some situations that you might experience with students. So I think we've got 10 minutes left, so we won't have time to cover all of these situations. But for example, the first one, you meet with your mentee for the first time and you had hoped that they would turn up to the meeting with an idea of what they would like to get out of the programme. However, they are quiet and only speak when you ask them a question. So I'll open this up to the room. How do you think that you would deal with that situation with your student? Again, if you want to post in the chat, or you can just unmute yourself, then that's fine.